Dr. Sarah Chen slips on the VR headset and gasps. The laboratory vanishes, replaced by an alien world of crushing heat and endless landmass. "My God," she whispers, watching Pangea's birth unfold around her. The massive continents don't just drift. They dance with terrifying grace, grinding together like titanic puzzle pieces seeking their ancient fit. Ishes, replaced by an alien world of crushing heat and endless landmass. "My God," she whispers. Sarah feels the simulation's heat wash over her skin, sweat beading despite the climate-controlled lab. The air tastes metallic, thick with volcanic ash. No ice caps exist to cool this furnace world, just endless suffocating warmth that makes her lungs work harder with each breath. Terrifying grace, grinding together like titanic puzzle pieces seeking their ancient fit. The ancient supercontinent Pangea emerges from this primordial choreography, a single, unified landmass surrounded by the vast Panthalassa Ocean. Towering mountain ranges erupt skyward, where continents kiss, their peaks scraping the belly of prehistoric skies. Volcanic chains paint the horizon in rivers of fire, while primitive forests of towering ferns and cycads carpet the interior valleys. Sarah feels the simulation's heat wash over her skin, sweat beading despite the climate-controlled lab. The air tastes metallic, thick with volcanic ash. No ice caps exist to cool this furnace world, just endless, suffocating warmth that makes her lungs work harder with each breath. Massive reptiles, the ancestors of dinosaurs, begin their evolutionary march across this unified stage. The supercontinent pulses with tectonic energy, its heartbeat measured in millennia rather than seconds. Rivers carve deep canyons through sedimentary layers, creating geological libraries that will preserve the secrets of this ancient world. Yet even as Pangea reaches its magnificent zenith, the inexorable forces beneath its surface are already plotting its destruction. The same mantle convections that birthed this continental giant will eventually tear it apart, scattering its pieces across the globe like seeds on cosmic winds, setting the stage for Earth's next great transformation. Deep beneath the ocean floor, ancient forces stir with planetary patience. The Earth's tectonic plates, those colossal rafts of rock that carry our continents, drift at the glacial pace of fingernail growth. Yet their cumulative power dwarfs every human endeavor. In laboratories around the world, geophysicists peer through computer models into a future 250 million years distant. "Where Elena, show me the collision timeline," Sarah requests. Dr. Vasquez's fingers dance across holographic controls. "Look at this. North America charging toward Europe like a geological freight train. 2 centimeters per year doesn't sound like much until you realize." She pauses, watching Sarah's expression. "Until you realize it's absolutely unstoppable." Memory. Dr. Elena Vasquez traces her finger across Elena hesitates at her workstation. Should she show Sarah the full timeline? The part where familiar coastlines vanish forever? The committee demanded optimistic projections, but the data tells a different story. "There's something else," she says finally, her voice heavy with the weight of geological inevitability. "Tess." Dr. Vasquez's fingers dance across holographic controls. "Look at this. North America charging toward Europe like a geological freight train. 2 centimeters per year doesn't sound like much until you realize..." She pauses, watching Sarah's expression. "Until you realize it's absolutely unstoppable." Behind her, seismic monitoring stations detect the planet's deep heartbeat. The constant grinding, the pressure building along fault lines that will reshape civilization's descendants. The mid-Atlantic ridge spreads while subduction zones devour oceanic crust elsewhere, part of an ancient recycling system that predates life itself. Elena hesitates at her workstation. Should she show Sarah the full timeline, the part where familiar coastlines vanish forever? The committee demanded optimistic projections, but the data tells a different story. "There's something else," she says finally, her voice heavy with the weight of geological inevitability. The continents remember their last embrace 300 million years ago, and they are slowly, inexorably moving toward reunion. What seems permanent beneath our feet is merely a temporary arrangement in Earth's grand geological symphony. Marine biologist Dr. James Wright grips the research vessel's railing, staring at readings that shouldn't exist. "Captain, we're measuring seismic activity along the entire mid-Atlantic ridge. It's like the ocean floor is dying." The Atlantic, Huma, through the submersible's viewport, Wright watches the unthinkable, volcanic vents along the ridge flickering like dying campfires. The water tastes different here, metallic and wrong. His instruments register temperature drops that shouldn't be possible. The ocean's heartbeat is slowing. Exist. "Captain, we're measuring seismic activity along the entire mid-Atlantic ridge. It's like the ocean floor is dying." The Atlantic, humanity's ancient highway, has become a graveyard of geological forces. After 200 million years of expansion, the oceanic conveyor belt that has driven continental drift begins its fateful reversal. Deep beneath the waves, ancient fault lines crack and groan as tectonic forces shift direction. Through the submersible's viewport, Wright watches the unthinkable, volcanic vents along the ridge flickering like dying campfires. The water tastes different here, metallic and wrong. His instruments register temperature drops that shouldn't be possible. The ocean's heartbeat is slowing. In its place, subduction zones begin their work of destruction, swallowing oceanic crust into the Earth's molten depths. The Americas and Eurasia-Africa creep toward each other at a geological pace, mere centimeters per year. Yet their collision course is absolute. Coastal cities that once thrived on Atlantic shores now witness unprecedented seismic activity. Massive tsunamis reshape coastlines as the ocean floor buckles and folds. Marine ecosystems, isolated for millions of years, face extinction as their habitat shrinks relentlessly. The Atlantic's death throes create new mountain ranges beneath the waves, underwater Himalayas that will one day pierce the surface as dry land. Scientists of this distant era watch helplessly as Earth's second-largest ocean transforms into a narrow sea, then a series of lakes, before vanishing entirely. The Atlantic's obituary writes itself in stone and sediment, marking the beginning of the end for our familiar world. In the vast theater of geological time, Australia embarks on its most dramatic voyage yet. 7 centimeters per year, geologist Dr. 7 centimeters per year. Geologist Dr. Kate Morrison tells her graduate students, pointing at the satellite data. "That's 3 times faster than your fingernails grow." A student looks confused. "That seems slow." Kate's eyes gleam. "For a continent carrying 25 million people, that's lightning speed. We're riding a geological freight train." His eyes gleam. "For a continent carrying 25 million people, that's lightning speed. We're riding a geological freight train." The journey spans 100 million years, transforming the entire Pacific Basin as Australia races toward an inevitable collision with Asia. Beneath the surface, ancient tectonic forces drive this continental odyssey. The Indo-Australian plate, powered by convection currents deep within Earth's mantle, pushes relentlessly northward. As Australia approaches, the narrow seas between it and Southeast Asia begin to shrink dramatically. Indonesia's thousands of islands become stepping stones in this geological dance, their volcanic chains marking the collision zone where two continental masses will eventually unite. The Pacific Ocean, once Earth's largest body of water, contracts as Australia's northward march reshapes global geography. Coastal cities that once faced endless ocean horizons now witness the gradual approach of distant landmasses. This is continental drift at its most spectacular, a process that will fundamentally alter climate patterns, ocean currents, and the distribution of life on Earth, as two ancient landmasses prepare for their monumental reunion in the formation of Pangea Ultima. Archaeologist Dr. Maria Santos stands where the Mediterranean should be, salt crystals crunching under her boots. The GPS confirms her worst fears. She's standing on what was once sea floor, 50 meters below sea level, just decades ago. "It's really happening," she whispers into her recorder. "The cradle of civilization is dying under her boots." The GPS confirms her worst fears. She's standing on what was once sea floor, 50 meters below sea level, just decades ago. "It's really happening," she whispers into her recorder. "The cradle of civilization is dying." What was once the cradle of ancient civilizations now transforms into a shallow, salt-encrusted wasteland. The iconic azure waters retreat daily, leaving behind vast expanses of dried seabed where marine fossils glint in the harsh sun. The towering Atlas Mountains scrape against the alpine peaks, grinding stone against stone in a geological ballet of destruction and creation. Ancient cities that once graced Mediterranean shores now find themselves stranded on elevated terraces, their harbors transformed into salt flats stretching endlessly toward the horizon. The collision generates massive seismic waves that ripple through both continents, creating new mountain ranges that pierce the sky like jagged teeth. Where Sicily once stood as an island bridge, now rises a continuous landmass connecting Africa to Europe. The last pockets of Mediterranean water concentrate into hypersaline lakes, their surfaces shimmering with crystalline salt deposits. Marine life either migrates to the Atlantic or adapts to increasingly hostile conditions. This is not mere geological change. It's the violent rewriting of Earth's face as two continental titans embrace in a collision that will echo through geological time, marking the final chapter of the Mediterranean's ancient story. The impossible becomes reality as Antarctica breaks free from its polar prison. For millions of years, the frozen continent has remained Earth's silent guardian at the bottom of the world, locked in perpetual ice. Now, as Pangea Ultima's magnetic pull grows stronger, the massive landmass begins its unprecedented journey northward. Satellite imagery captures the breathtaking moment when mile-thick glacial shelves crack Dr. Alex Chen grabs the radio as his research station tilts 15 degrees in 30 seconds. "Mayday, McMurdo Base. We're moving. The whole continent is moving." His coffee mug slides across the table. Outside, 1,000-year-old ice shelves crack like thunder. "This is impossible," he breathes, but his instruments don't lie. We're moving. The whole continent is moving." His coffee mug slides across the table. Outside, 1,000-year-old ice shelves crack like thunder. "This is impossible," he breathes, but his instruments don't lie. Light for the first time since the age of dinosaurs. Research stations scattered across the continent broadcast their final transmissions as seismic waves ripple through the bedrock, shifting entire mountain ranges. The Ross Ice Shelf, larger than France, calves into the warming ocean with the sound of colliding worlds. As Antarctica drifts toward temperate latitudes, its ice begins a rapid transformation. Meltwater cascades create temporary rivers that carve new valleys through exposed stone. Scientists watch in awe and terror as this frozen time capsule reveals secrets buried since Earth's youth. The continent's movement sends shockwaves through global ocean currents, triggering climate upheavals that will reshape weather patterns worldwide. Antarctica's awakening marks not just geological transformation, but the resurrection of a land that predates human civilization. Seismologist Dr. Patricia Lee feels it in her bones before her instruments register it, a deep vibration that makes her coffee ripple in perfect concentric circles. She holds her breath. Then her equipment explodes into activity. "It's starting," she whispers, watching the needles dance. The secret the Earth has been whispering for millennia has become a roar, PLA in perfect concentric circles. She holds her breath. Then her equipment explodes into activity. "It's starting," she whispers, watching the needles dance. The secret the Earth has been whispering for millennia has become a roar. Seismographs across the globe register the first contact, a grinding, inexorable pressure as North America's eastern edge meets the western shores of Africa. The initial touch is deceptively gentle, like massive stone fingers intertwining after eons of separation. But beneath this tender reunion lies unimaginable force. Tectonic plates, each carrying billions of tons of rock, compress against each other with the weight of continents. The Atlantic Ocean, once a vast expanse of blue, begins its death throes as its waters are displaced and squeezed upward. Coastal cities feel the first tremors. Buildings sway, windows rattle, and a deep primordial sound emerges from the Earth itself. It's the planet groaning under its own transformation. In laboratories worldwide, scientists watch in awe and terror as their instruments record pressures never before witnessed in human history. The collision isn't explosive like meteor impacts of the past. It's a slow, relentless embrace that will reshape everything. Birds take flight in unprecedented migrations, sensing what humans can only measure. The first tremors are just the beginning, a geological handshake that will birth mountain ranges and drain oceans. Geologist Dr. Robert Hayes watches from his helicopter as impossible peaks thrust skyward where his grandfather once fished for cod. "That's where Boston Harbor used to be," he tells his pilot, voice cracking. The mountains rising below them dwarf Everest, born from forces that have turned his familiar world alien. His grandfather once fished for cod. "That's where Boston Harbor used to be," he tells his pilot, voice cracking. The mountains rising below them dwarf Everest, born from forces that have turned his familiar world alien. The collision of North America and Africa births peaks that dwarf the Himalayas, their jagged summits piercing through cloud layers into the stratosphere. Molten rock fountains from the Earth's wounds, painting the sky in hues of copper and gold as the planet reshapes itself with violent artistry. The grinding of continental plates creates a symphony of geological warfare. Deep, resonant groans that vibrate through the bedrock for thousands of miles. Ancient sediments, once buried beneath ocean floors, now stand vertical as testament to Earth's raw power. Massive landslides cascade down newly formed slopes, carrying fragments of civilizations that once thrived along distant coastlines. Rivers, confused by the sudden elevation, plunge over 1,000-foot cliffs in thunderous waterfalls that echo across the transformed landscape. The air itself seems to tremble with the magnitude of creation, as if witnessing the birth of giants. This is not mere geological change. It's the planet's muscles flexing, demonstrating the awesome forces that have shaped worlds for billions of years. In this moment of collision, Earth writes a new chapter in stone and fire. Oceanographer Dr. Lisa Park stares at her monitors in disbelief. The Gulf Stream, Earth's great conveyor belt of warmth, is stuttering like a dying engine. "How long do we have?" her assistant asks. Lisa's hands shake as she checks the calculations. "The current that's regulated our climate for millions of years, it's stopping. We have maybe 5 years," asks. Lisa's hands shake as she checks the calculations. "The current that's regulated our climate for millions of years, it's stopping. We have maybe 5 years." Now, as continents squeeze closer together, these ancient highways of heat begin to collapse. Satellite imagery reveals the catastrophic truth. The great conveyor belt of ocean circulation is grinding to a halt. Without the Gulf Stream's warming influence, Europe plunges into an ice age, while tropical regions become furnaces. The Atlantic's thermohaline circulation, driven by differences in water density, weakens as the ocean basins shrink and salinity patterns shift. Massive gyres that have spun for eons slow to a crawl, their energy dissipated by the narrowing seas. Marine ecosystems dependent on these currents face extinction. Whales follow migration routes that no longer exist. Fish populations crash as nutrient-rich upwellings cease. The ocean, once a stabilizing force moderating Earth's climate, becomes a stagnant basin. Temperature gradients that once drove weather systems vanish, replaced by extreme regional climates. Coastal cities brace for the new reality. A world where the sea's moderating influence has died, leaving continents to face the full fury of climatic extremes alone. Wildlife biologist Dr. Amanda Cruz faces an impossible choice. Her research team can save perhaps 50 species, but which ones? Around them, the Amazon burns as tectonic forces tear South America apart. "We can't save them all," she tells her team, ash falling like gray snow on her clipboard. Every decision means another evolutionary line ends forever, earns as tectonic forces tear South America apart. "We can't save them all," she tells her team, ash falling like gray snow on her clipboard. Every decision means another evolutionary line ends forever. In the Amazon's final hours, jaguars lead desperate processions of surviving species northward, their spotted coats barely visible through choking volcanic ash. Ancient migration corridors, carved over millions of years, become highways of exodus as creatures flee the advancing wall of destruction. In the Pacific, the last pods of blue whales navigate between emerging volcanic islands, their haunting songs echoing through superheated waters. Marine life streams through narrowing passages as ocean basins compress, creating bottlenecks where species that never coexisted are forced together in chaotic desperation. The Arctic's final polar bears drift on melting ice floes, their white forms ghostly against an orange sky stained with ash from 1,000 erupting volcanoes. Evolution accelerates in real time as survival pressure reaches unprecedented heights. Some species adapt with startling speed. Birds develop heat-resistant plumage. Mammals grow specialized lungs for ash-filled air. Others, too specialized for their vanishing niches, make their final stand in shrinking refuges. This is natural selection compressed into centuries rather than millennia, life's greatest test of adaptability as Earth reshapes itself into an alien world. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, descendant of Earth survivors, stands on Pangea Ultima's highest peak. Through her enhanced vision, she watches the final Atlantic waters drain into Earth's depths. Our ancestors called them separate continents, she tells her young daughter, but the earth always remembers its wholeness. The last drop disappears, and unified land stretches to every horizon. Through her enhanced vision, she watches the final Atlantic waters drain into Earth's depths. Our ancestors called them separate continents, she tells her young daughter, but the earth always remembers its wholeness. The last drop disappears, and unified land stretches to every horizon. The remnants of Africa and Europe, now fused into a single massive landmass, complete their inexorable journey toward the Americas. The Atlantic Ocean, once a mighty barrier separating continents, has become a mere memory as its oceanic crust disappears into the Earth's molten depths. Where turbulent seas once roamed, towering mountain chains now pierce the sky. Geological monuments to the incredible forces that forged this new supercontinent. Pangea Ultima emerges from the chaos, its vast interior stretching endlessly toward distant horizons. Ancient coastlines have vanished, replaced by an alien topography of crystalline peaks and expansive valleys. The very concept of separate continents becomes obsolete as humanity witnesses the birth of a unified landmass that dwarfs anything in Earth's recorded history. Rivers now flow along paths that span thousands of miles, carving through landscapes that blend the geological heritage of multiple continents. This is not merely the collision of land masses, it is the complete reorganization of Earth's surface, creating a world where the familiar blue marble becomes something entirely unprecedented, a testament to the planet's capacity for perpetual transformation. Explorer. Jin Watanabe's thermometer explodes at 75 degrees C as he ventures into Pangea Ultima's heart. The air burns his lungs. Sand particles, hot as glass beads, sting his face through his protective gear. This desert makes the Sahara look like a garden, a furnace that stretches beyond imagination, where even his enhanced equipment struggles to function, his face through his protective gear. This desert makes the Sahara look like a garden, a furnace that stretches beyond imagination, where even his enhanced equipment struggles to function. Stretching beyond horizons, this hyper-arid wasteland spans thousands of kilometers from any ocean, creating a hellscape where temperatures soar past 70 degrees Celsius in the endless summer. Ancient mountain ranges, ground to powder by eons of collision, form towering dune systems that shift like slow-motion tsunamis across the barren landscape. Salt flats, remnants of vanished inland seas, crack into geometric patterns stretching to the wavering horizon. Here, in this interior heart of the supercontinent, the very air shimmers with heat distortion, creating phantom lakes that dance and disappear. Scattered across this wasteland, the skeletal remains of forests that once thrived at continental margins now stand as petrified monuments to a greener past. The silence is absolute, except for the whisper of sand against stone and the distant crack of thermal expansion splitting rocks. This is Earth's new interior, a desert so vast and hostile that it dwarfs the Sahara, a testament to the planet's capacity for both creation and destruction as continents reshape the very nature of habitability. Marine biologist Dr. Yuki Tanaka collapses to her knees in the salt marsh, tears mixing with spray from the singular ocean. After weeks crossing the dead interior, this green ribbon of life feels like a miracle. It survived, she whispers, watching adapted birds fish in hypersaline pools. Life always finds a way. Weeks crossing the dead interior, this green ribbon of life feels like a miracle. It survived, she whispers, watching adapted birds fish in hypersaline pools. Life always finds a way. Here, Where ancient tectonic wounds still weep salt water into vast lagoons, remnant ecosystems cluster like precious gems against the harsh continental interior. The coastal zone stretches in a narrow band around the supercontinent's perimeter, a green thread of survival in an otherwise barren tapestry. Massive tidal ranges, amplified by the single ocean's unimpeded circulation, create dynamic intertidal zones that pulse with specialized life forms. Salt-tolerant mangrove forests, their roots adapted to extreme salinity fluctuations, form living barriers against the encroaching desert. Behind them, brackish marshlands harbor the descendants of Earth's final freshwater species, their genetic diversity compressed into these marginal spaces. The air shimmers with salt spray and the calls of seabirds that have evolved to traverse impossible distances between scattered oases. These coastal sanctuaries represent life's ultimate adaptation, not just to Pangea Ultima's harsh climate, but to the fundamental reorganization of Earth's geography. Here, in the liminal space between land and sea, evolution writes its final chapters, each tide bringing both destruction and renewal to these last bastions of biological complexity. Geophysicist Dr. Marcus Chen makes the announcement that will change everything. Pangea Ultima is doomed. His colleagues stare in shocked silence. The continent they've called home for 100 million years shows the first cracks of dissolution. "How long?" someone whispers. Marcus checks his models one last time. The breakup has already begun. Pangea Ultima is doomed. His colleagues stare in shocked silence. The continent they've called home for 100 million years shows the first cracks of dissolution. "How long?" someone whispers. Marcus checks his models one last time. The breakup has already begun. After 100 million years of unified existence, the supercontinent begins showing signs of its inevitable demise. Deep beneath the surface, the same forces that forged this landmass now conspire to tear it apart. New rifts emerge like lightning bolts across the continental fabric, following ancient zones of weakness. The great central ocean, once pushed aside, begins its patient return as spreading centers crack open the supercontinent's heart. Volcanic chains erupt along these nascent boundaries, painting the sky with ash and fire as Earth prepares for another grand reorganization. The Wilson cycle, geology's eternal rhythm, demands this breakup. Continental fragments begin their slow dance apart, carrying with them evolved ecosystems and species that will diverge into new evolutionary paths. Hotspots burn through the crust like cosmic welding torches, creating island chains that will bridge the growing oceans. The atmospheric patterns shift dramatically as new seaways alter global circulation. What once seemed permanent reveals itself as merely another chapter in Earth's 4.6 billion-year story. The planet's surface remains in constant motion, driven by the inexorable heat engine deep within. Pangea Ultima's dissolution marks not an ending, but a new beginning in the endless geological epic. Dr. Sarah Chen, now elderly, removes her VR headset after witnessing Earth's full geological cycle. Her hands shake, not from age, but from awe. "We are not separate from this story," she tells her granddaughter. "Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of ancient stars and will dance in mountains yet to be born. This is our story too. We are not separate from this story," she tells her granddaughter. "Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of ancient stars and will dance in mountains yet to be born. This is our story too." As we witness the slow motion ballet of continental convergence, we glimpse something profound about the nature of permanence itself. The mountains we consider eternal are merely temporary wrinkles in Earth's skin. The oceans that seem boundless will someday vanish into the planet's depths. Yet from this apparent destruction emerges a deeper truth. Nothing is truly lost, only transformed. The carbon locked in today's limestone will breathe again as tomorrow's atmosphere. The water trapped in crystal lattices will flow in rivers yet to be born. Pangea Ultima teaches us that time is not a linear march toward decay, but a spiral dance of renewal. Every ending seeds a new beginning. Every collision births new possibilities. In 250 million years, when the supercontinent finally takes its place beneath alien constellations, it will carry within its heart the memory of everything that came before. Every creature that walked these lands, every ocean that lapped these shores, every mountain that touched these skies. We are not separate from this story. We are written into its very rocks, eternal participants in Earth's grand symphony of change. In contemplating the distant future, when continents once again embrace to form Pangea Ultima, we are reminded that Earth operates on timescales that humble human ambition and put our fleeting existence into profound perspective. Yet this inevitable geological reunion speaks to something deeper about the nature of change itself, that what appears permanent is merely temporary, that separation eventually yields to unity, and that the forces that shape our world are far grander than our daily concerns. Perhaps the greatest lesson of Pangea Ultima is not about the Earth's future, but about our present responsibility as temporary stewards of this restless planet. While continents drift at the pace of growing fingernails and mountain ranges rise like slow-motion waves, humanity has the unique privilege of witnessing, understanding, and preparing for these cosmic rhythms. In recognizing our place within this vast temporal tapestry, we find both humility and hope. Humility in our smallness, and hope in our capacity to comprehend and adapt to the magnificent, ever-changing stage upon which the drama of life unfolds.